Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the horribly and unfairly treated January 6th hostages.
You see the spirit from the hostages, and that's what they are, as hostages.
President-elect Donald Trump making clear that pardoning January 6th convicts is a top priority for his new administration. He told Time magazine in an interview released Thursday, quote, "I'll be looking at J6 early on, maybe the first 9 minutes. I'm going to do case by case, and if they were nonviolent, I think they've been greatly punished." Trump and his allies have been making false claims for years about the Capitol riot, arguing that law enforcement officials purposefully bungled their intelligence, even using paid informants to rile up an otherwise peaceful rally to create a violent insurrection.
FBI operatives were organizing the attack on the Capitol on January 6th.
3 police officers were caught instigating the crowd, chanting and urging them to go into the Capitol.
An FBI informant who is reported to have, quote, under oath, marched to the U.S. Capitol.
There was Antifa, and there was FBI. There were a lot of other people there, too, leading the charge.
So a brand new report from an independent Justice Department watchdog concludes this, quote, "We found no evidence in the materials we reviewed or the testimony we received showing or suggesting that the FBI had undercover employees in the various protest crowds or at the Capitol on January 6th. Let's bring in former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe to discuss. Sir, always grateful to have you on the program. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Casey. It's good to be here.
What is your takeaway from this report? And I mean, what can you tell us about these theories, about whether there were informants, et cetera?
Yeah, well, I guess my top line takeaway, Casey, is that I'm not surprised at all. This is exactly what we expected. This is what the FBI has been telling us since January 6th about their own activities with informants. And to be clear, what the IG determined was there were no FBI undercover employees, not a single one at the rally or on the Capitol that day. There were 3 informants. These are private citizens who provide information to the FBI under their own, for their own reasons. 3 who were actually asked to attend the rally and went and reported back on the domestic terrorism subjects that were under investigation and who we knew would be there. And there were an additional 23 informants who just went because that's what they do. They are people in these communities, in these extremist groups who also report and provide information to the FBI, and they spend time with these people. So about 26 in total. Many of them provided positive reporting back to the FBI. I think only 4 actually entered the Capitol on that day, and none have been accused by prosecutors of doing anything violent or committing crime. So it is the truth, once again, is very different from what people have been hearing on right-wing television and from Republican politicians.
So, yeah, just to clarify here, I think it's important. You said these informants are not Bureau employees. They are people who give information to the Bureau. And then can I just ask for, those of us who don't work in the field that you work in, what could you expect an FBI informant to be doing in a situation like this, right? If you have an informant that's inside one of these groups that's actually working with the U.S. government, what would their observed actions look like on that day?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So first of all, the FBI has many informants in extremist communities around the country and around the globe. That's what we do as an intelligence organization. You have to recruit sources of information. You have to convince people who are members of these groups to report back information to the FBI. And they do it for all sorts of different reasons. Once someone is an informant for the FBI, they are admonished that they have no authority to engage in any criminal activity, and that if we find them committing crimes or participating in criminal activity, they will be arrested just like anyone else. So people on that day who might have been asked, hey, you are helping us in the investigation of a particular domestic terrorism subject. We know that that person is traveling to the Capitol to attend this rally. Why don't you go with that person and let us know what they're doing? It's a way of keeping track of people who you think are potentially engaging in violence. It's a way of understanding what they're doing and giving you the opportunity to prevent acts of violence and terrorism from taking place. So they'll under those circumstances, that person would travel with the subject of the investigation and make phone calls or send texts back to a handling agent saying, here's where we're going to go tomorrow. We're going to stop here for breakfast, and then we're going to walk to the rally. Here's what I'll be wearing so you can identify me. Here's what the other person looks like. Just basic information that allows agents to keep some understanding, maintain an understanding of what a subject of an investigation is doing, and to potentially collect evidence of that person's wrongdoing that might be necessary later in a criminal prosecution.
So, Andy, the Vice President-elect, J.D. Vance, he reposted someone else that excerpted details on this report. And what that said was this, quote, "For those keeping score at home, this was labeled as a dangerous conspiracy theory months ago, this idea that there were human sources at the Capitol." What is your, I mean, I think we've dug into this a little bit, but do you have a response to the Vice President-elect specifically?
This wasn't ever labeled as a dangerous conspiracy. The fact that informants were involved in this activity, the fact that informants might have been reporting on subjects of investigation, as is their job, that's their role with the FBI. That's not a dangerous conspiracy theory. That's the truth. That's how intelligence agencies collect information on people who might be ready to hurt us. The dangerous conspiracy theory was propagated by people like the vice president, who've been saying for years that the FBI incited this riot, that the FBI sent informants or undercover employees onto the Capitol or into the rally that day for the purpose of fomenting the riot, getting people fired up, starting the violence. And that absolutely did not happen. And now you have the Inspector General, who absolutely would have reported that if they found it in their investigation that included hundreds of interviews and many, many years to complete, which is a separate problem. So yeah, the dangerous conspiracy theory here is what you've been hearing from right-wing commentators, that the FBI somehow had an interest in creating the riot on the Capitol and starting an insurrection. That absolutely did not happen.
All right, Andrew McCabe, very grateful to have you on the show today. Thanks very much.
Thank you.